Okay, so you said this is based in the 60s.
Yes.
Now that's fine. Obviously, 60s is obviously a well-known time for particularly London gangsters and so
Yeah.
on. But is it particularly relevant for a modern audience of, say, I know, 18 to 35-year-olds, where gangs and drugs and obviously crime is so prevalent in society at the moment? Why should we go back when we could probably tell that type of story now and make it more relevant? Why do you think the 60s is still relevant today for an audience?
Well, one, I'd say I found that most people who watch BBC are actually up around the kind of 50s area in terms of age. So it's kind of course, they wouldn't be alive and remembering exactly gangland activity, but that would have kind of went back to a time that maybe they could remember or being more kind of involved or engaged in. And also, we're still kind of mirroring the problem today. We're just telling it in a slightly more kind of detached way, so maybe it doesn't feel quite as personal to some people.
Now, you said it in Birmingham.
Yes.
When obviously, the Craig twins,
Yeah.
obviously the Richardsons in the south and so on, these sort of famous gangs.
Yes.
Birmingham, obviously, you've already had or have Peaky Blinders, so
Right.
you kind of already had a gangland sort of show. I know it's obviously
Yes.
much more further back in time, but is there a danger that we're copying something here? Why not another city like Liverpool or Manchester?
I just found that Birmingham was the most relevant in terms of the time and the period, and also I don't think we're exactly dealing with the same themes of Peaky Blinders. Of course, there is still an element of crime, but this is kind of a more character-driven story with just this single character, Ron being the main focus. So it's not kind of all about the gang and that kind of thing.
Yeah. One of the concerns I had is there's not really a police presence in this.
Yes.
I understand obviously it's going to focus on the gangs, but
Yeah.
usually in shows there's a police officer or someone on the trail, and I feel that's a bit of a miss. So is that something that you might have to look at to make sort of the other side of it, not just being about gang members against each other, but also the police who clearly would be involved in some capacity?
Yes, yeah, I did plan that the police would eventually get involved, but because I was mainly talking about the first episode here, but I would probably introduce police characters slightly later in the 5-part miniseries, maybe episode 2, maybe episode 3, when the situation starts to escalate and the police really get involved.
Okay. Now you said you've got Stephen Graham, who no
Yes.
doubt is a fantastic actor, but ultimately you said he'd play a Liverpudlian.
Yep.
It's obviously the sort of derogatory term of Scouser.
Yep.
Why would you have someone in Birmingham? Why not just get someone who's from Birmingham? It seems a bit weird. Like, why not get a Birmingham gangster rather than a Liverpudlian? It seems a bit odd, that choice. So why was that so important to you?
I just thought Stephen Graham was really the best for the role in terms of the roles he tends to act. I think fits this part very well, and also he's kind of got a bit of star power to him as well, because a lot of people are fans of Stephen Graham and they've seen him in a lot of BBC shows of recent.
So why couldn't he just play a Brummie?
Because I think it maybe wouldn't be as natural.
But he's a good actor, right? So, I mean, you coach
But
him
then
and
have you
stuff.
seen him in anything where he doesn't do a Scouse accent?
Fair enough, then is he right? Is he the right person to play if you're going to go with someone who's from Birmingham? It just seems a bit strange. I'm not sure why you'd have
Yeah.
someone from Liverpool
Well, yeah,
in a Birmingham-based. It seems a bit. It's like getting someone from Newcastle to be in a London
Yeah.
gangster show. I don't quite get the connection there, so I need to elaborate a little bit more.
I think one thing that helps is it kind of partly shows a disconnect to the community. As I mentioned, he's never kind of had a family, and he was kind of orphaned and kind of pushed into this world that he wasn't really born into. And I think maybe you can mirror that slightly, or kind of have a bit of a way of giving that off by showing he's kind of almost not from the same community as these people. So you've kind of got these Brummies, he's been kind of pushed into that community, but he's kind of very obviously not part of that same group or area because of his accent.
Okay. The other concern I had was, you got the female character who's the wife,
Yep.
and obviously she's been a victim. So, fine. If this was a show made in the 60s, no doubt that would be the representation of a female character. But, we're in 2019,
Yeah.
Me Too and the movement of females getting better roles, and not being seen as the girlfriend or the victim, or being fridged for the male character to grow. So, you know, I'm concerned that this character seems a bit of a throwback and doesn't feel very modern. So how would you fix that to make this woman be more of a character rather than just someone in the background to be abused and more there for the men?
I'd maybe show that she's... So for instance, we've got Ron who wants to kind of take her away and escape with her. Maybe she'd be a bit more independent, a bit more resistant to his actions, and show that actually she's trying to work towards something for herself that maybe doesn't include Ron, which might show that she's maybe more independent than like a throwaway female character that like the ones you mentioned.
Okay, is this show particularly violent? I wasn't quite sure about that. That's After the Watershed, but why is it After the Watershed? Is it the language? Is it the violence? Is it both? Why is it so late in the night?
Yeah, mainly a bit of both, because it's dealing directly with gangland activities. There will be violence. As I've shown in one of my sample films, a guy got thrown off a cliff in a bag. So it's definitely not suitable for kids, hence the post-Watershed. And also it would be dealing with quite adult themes of trauma and crime and murder and a lot.
Okay. Lastly, see, you put it on BBC One, where I'm thinking, actually, is that the right channel? Because Peaky Blinders is on, obviously, BBC Two.
Right.
And a lot of these kind of gazette shows seem to be on there. BBC seems to like, obviously, medical and cop dramas. So, are you sure you got the right channel here? Why would it be better to be on BBC Two?
I was really just thinking of it as a flagship show for BBC, hence why it would be on BBC One, which is where they put most of their main programming.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you very much.